Hello, happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day, everyone.
We are so excited and happy to be together today on this very special day. This is our second LinkedIn Live as RegenerateX, and our topic today is regenerating our futures, the journey beyond gender equality. In this second event, we have some very special guests. Sophia Swire, founder at Equity Diversity Investments, and Dr. Tatiana Kazakova, strategy officer and co-founder at Leaders on Purpose. Today also, as always, we have Semin Yalman Yilmaz, founder at Living in the Heart, and Marv Radio, musician and voice coach, who together will share their gifts of meditation and music. Because in regeneration, we believe in these holistic experiences. We believe in the importance of gender equality, that's for sure. But what is more important is that we start regenerating this topic, but by regenerating our thoughts and our emotions and how we relate to each other. And today we will focus on how gender equality is important for regenerative futures and how we can go beyond gender equality and take the ownership and responsibility of our humanity, which is the life, very intelligent life of this planet. Thank you for joining us today, and I want to invite Semin to start our session.
Yes, hello everyone. So today is very special for me because it's about women, and I was so much interested always in woman subject, in the woman's field, when I was even studying sociology at the university. So being in different business environments and creating different projects, after a while I started to go within. So, and this within, I connected first with my womanhood. And then I found out that the gift of the womanhood is so important, and to go within and to discover that is so important. So today I want to share some movements and some thoughts about that, because in Living in Heart, what I do is I reconnect people with their body, with their heart, with their mind, and with their soul. So I just want to start with our thumb, as a, just looking at our thumb. When you look at your thumb, just staring at your thumb, you are actually just focusing on one item, actually on just yourself. But actually, we are not separate. So there are other fingers. So you can move them. And when you look, you have the other fingers. So we are all connected. So you're not just you as separate being, a separate woman, but we are all connected. So, and also we have all this body, the wisdom of the body is so enormous and so important. And we women, actually, the female energy is moving. And so I want you to invite you to stand up. And what we do is just put your feet on the ground. And while you're connecting your roots to the ground, I just want you to do some circles. So you can put your hands on your side and just do rhythmic movements, because this is also the woman's energy. We are flowing, we are moving, we have also very sensitive energies. So just move and just be with the flow. And then to the other side. Yeah, just feel the flow. And also just shake a little bit and just see how the energy will change after a while, just moving. And when you stop, you might be feeling some sensations in your hands. And also maybe your breathing is also changing. And also, it's so important that, we have an arc line, and especially we women, there's one arc line from one earlobe to the other. Man has that too, but we women, we have a different one. The two nipples here, we have in between, we have this energy flow. So this special energy we have here, we are actually receiving and giving love. But if we have emotional trauma or lack of self-love, this is being cut and broken. And so, but there is a way also to repair and to connect. So I want you just, to hug yourself, for example. Just start hugging yourself. Just start with really giving yourself the self-care and love. Actually, it's that easy just to embrace yourself, accept yourself, and with kindness and love, just be. Yeah. So with this recognition, we can continue. Thank you having me here.
Thank you so much, Semin. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. So yeah, we are currently in a huge consciousness shift and healing journey, whether you realize it or not, around the trident issues of race, gender, and climate are at the heart of our transformation. So we are creating new stories of gender harmony, where men can connect also to their humanity, their heart and their emotions, in order to create a different and innovative society, where we as men, as women together can co-create in harmony and peace. So me with Unconditional Man, I do this work, with men, actually of bringing men back to their authenticity. And by doing so, they also realize the connection to the feminine, and to a different relationships to the women that we have now and that we see broken in so many places now. So I invite also every man, every leader to look within and find a love in his heart, to let go of control, of the blockages and limitations of the past, to be courageous, and to be open and blossom together with women to the creation of this new world, and to dream together the world we want to see for our children and future generations. And I also believe that for companies, we need to create new environments where this stimulation and this transformation can happen. Create circles where we can express ourselves, not just from the mind and the thought and objectives and efficiency, but also like, how do we feel? What are we creating? And are we creating with joy, or are we creating, with stress, which makes a huge difference for the creation of this new world. So I invite everyone, and especially the men also, to open up and to support, the women in all different ways that we can.
Thank you so much, Rudy. It is such a pleasure for me to sit by my business and life partner and be able to talk about gender equality and beyond gender equality. Because in the end, it is essential that we understand first we are humanity. And humanity is the life of this planet. We need to really start understanding our role, leading the futures that we want. We very much focus on what we don't want and what we want to avoid, and focus on a problem-solving mentality. I think it is very important that we invite and encourage each other to focus on the processes of designing, of learning, creating relationships, creating cultures that are inclusive beyond gender. So with that, my work with the Heroines, which is a platform for women leaders, where we come together to design conscious business models and prototype innovative ways of working and living together that includes all life, that serves to all life, is something that I have been serving for more than the last 3 years since COVID started. And working with more than 100 women, what I'm noticing as women, when we understand our values and what we want and what we need really matter, not just for us, but for our communities and for future generations and for the life of this planet, I think as women, we can stop expecting empowerment and bring that empowerment by really taking our strength in our togetherness. And with that, how we relate to men and how we relate to each other is very important. And I believe the important part is not just about talking about gender equality, but designing business models and cultures that are inclusive. And it starts by understanding what we really care about. Because the businesses or communication, when we say this is not gender equal, it's not just an inequality against women, but it's an inequality of all humanity. We are reducing ourselves to singular and very sexist ways of seeing the world. And we can't change that. We can't change it in one generation. That's why when we are designing our business models, I invite you to consider how you are creating value propositions that are in harmony with the values of yourself, of your teams, as well as the communities, the stakeholders that you are serving to. And please expand the understanding of stakeholders beyond clients and shareholders. The ecosystem, Mother Earth, and all the beings on it are all our stakeholders. The future generations who don't have the opportunity to sit in the board meetings together with us, they have a voice. They should have a voice in the way we design our business models. And when we really understand that, okay, this is a good business model, value proposition that is inclusive, then we need to learn how to communicate that are inclusive. And communication with especially the artificial intelligence, machine learning, it's not an superficial level of job. It is so important because the next generations and the next billion people will be learning from those algorithms. So we need to bring the consciousness of humanity in that sense. And in these communication models, types of cultures we are creating, what are we telling our audiences, our children? How do they grow up thinking what it means to be a man, a woman, or humanity in all? In our business models, we also need to consider what are the type of partnerships we are creating. Are we including the foundations, the activists, the movement leaders who really deeply care about gender equality and beyond gender equality? And finally, last but not the least, how we are distributing the money, the profits, and how we are sharing the wealth and the capital that is beyond finances, that brings also an understanding of how we are distributing the power and claiming the strength of us becoming together. And this is in a nutshell what we are designing together with the heroines from all around the world. But I would like to really bring our attention that this is not a woman's issue. This is a humanity's opportunity. When we include women and our womanhood, not just act like men when we are pitching, when we are selling, but really bring our full selves to the table, we are serving whole humanity to flourish. Just consider our moon cycles, our birthing processes, which are totally excluded from the business processes. If we can bring that, we bring back the connection to our own nature and to the cycles of nature, Mother Earth, and we start deeply caring about our relationships in the most foundational way. With that, I would like to also invite you to join in this conversation with your questions. If you have any questions, if you have some comments, please write them. We see it, and we will be having a Q&A session where we will have conversations as well. Also, us coming together and having conversations is very important when it comes to gender harmony and beyond gender harmony. Because as Rudy said, we have been conditioned to act like something, and we know that it doesn't work anymore when it comes to gender roles or human leadership. In that sense, how can we bring compassion, like Semin was showing and guiding us, to feel it in our hearts and to allow each other to be seen and to be heard without punishment, is like an innovation lab of relationships. Because the new roles of where as humans we embrace our femininity and masculinity and the opportunities of our intelligence that is amplified with the technologies and our connections, that now we don't have any excuse but to connect, but to really hear and feel each other. And we know we are united. We know we are one. Whatever happens in Turkey affects Japan and in China, also Europe. We are in this together. So in that togetherness, we need to experiment with new ways of communication, listening each other, receiving each other, and transforming together as humanity. I think one of the biggest invitations that we would like to put on the table in this session is that don't treat gender equality just as numbers and outcomes. They are important, but this is a process because we are going through a transition, and that requires compassion, and that requires us being role models. When we know better, we do better. And instead of punishing each other, how can we really protect the most vulnerable and ease the job of people who are trying to learn and make it a cool thing, an important thing, a priority thing in our business decisions as well as societal decisions and systems design. That would be my couple of cents on the topic. Is there anything you would like to add, Rudy?
No, not right now. Let's go to our guest.
Yeah, we have amazing guests today because talking about these topics can take days and weeks. But our guests today, they are not just talking, they are also doing the things on scalable versions with in very important domains. First, I would like to invite Sophia Swire, founder of Gender Equity Diversity Investments, to have a conversation with us. Hi, Sophia. Yeah, we don't hear you. Sophia is traveling and we don't hear you. And she kindly accepted to also participate today to share her extensive journey with gender equality. We don't hear you.
Maybe Pal needs to unmute her.
No, she's not.
No.
She's not. Okay.
Go to Tatiana.
Yeah, we can also do that.
Unmute me, please, she says so.
We didn't mute you. You can speak now? No, you are unmuted, but we don't hear you somehow.
Maybe cut your Bluetooth if there's any headphones involved.
Interesting. Do you hear us? The beauties of technology and the challenges of it. Okay, so maybe while Sophia is connecting, would you like to talk? No, we don't hear you. Okay, so while Sophia is connecting, and now I will then take dear Tatiana. Hi, Tatiana. Welcome. So Tatiana is
Hi.
our dear friend. In Ibiza, we are neighbors, distant neighbors, but she's also the strategy officer and founder at Leaders on Purpose. Today, we invited her to talk from a regenerative perspective about what she and Leaders on Purpose envisions for the future of our humanity, as well as share with us some inspirational and concrete case studies. What are the practices these beautiful leaders who are on a mission, who are with purpose, are applying to make those futures a reality for all of us? Thank you, Tatiana, for joining. The stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you both, Canay and Rudy, and the whole team here, and for including me in such a significant and important conversation that cannot happen often enough, as we know. And it's my absolute delight to share with you here today my story and the story of Leaders on Purpose, and to the point that Canay mentioned, what we believe at Leaders on Purpose can enable a transition to a more sustainable and thriving future for all. Maybe just a little bit of background about myself and Leaders on Purpose. I'm, as Canay mentioned, I'm the co-founder and chief strategy officer of Leaders on Purpose. And my background, as a woman, I've studied mathematics and I did my PhD in strategy. So I was a corporate strategy consultant. So my life was very deeply, of course, always at the edges of the question of female empowerment and inequality in own experiences. And I will never forget how very, very early in my PhD career, I had a deep conversation with a famous professor from the London School of Economics. And she would sit with me together because we've discussed my proposal for the thesis that was in the business context. And then she said to me that I do have a lot of male traits. And I would answer to her, well, what if these are not male traits? What if these traits are Tatiana traits, right? Across the board. What if Tatiana, me, I have a diversity of traits? And so instead of categorizing that, I said, I would rather appreciate that we can see each other in a more diverse fashion. And I think this is very key to the conversation here today, to the journey beyond gender equality, and also applied to organizational settings, business settings, and economical settings. Fast forward with Leaders on Purpose, how we started out is that my amazing co-founder and CEO, Krista, had a project at Harvard. And at Harvard University, it was right at the time when the Harvard Business Review looked and defined what are the best 100 CEOs of the world. And the ranking radically shifted in 2015 because they've included also social governance and environmental metrics. And so what we did as a team, as a research team, we went out to understand first, who are these leaders that are suddenly at the top of the list? Of course, mainly male. However, what is it what they're doing that seems to be successful, driving the business forward with a very high performance, and at the same time fostering a culture of true belonging and true purpose-drivenness? We focus on this research ever since. We bring leaders together around themes that go into a bit more systemic layers of how do we want to create a truly better economy? What does such an economy look like? And how can we design a systems transformation through research, through coming together as leaders and learning new practices, and also applying them in very real world cases into business models, into the design of new markets that actually then deliver upon the promise at scale in the most sensible way. And I think this is the time that we are in. There's so much urgency of the delivery of scale of solutions that work for everyone. And across the board at Leaders on Purpose, we see a lot of examples and a huge variety of how these issues are being tackled. And something that you've mentioned, Canay, I love to build on that. you said, well, it's not only the relationship between gender, it's the relationship to diversity, it's the relationship to our human self and also to our planet. And in fact, as soon as we embrace this kind of thinking that is, of course, so sensible that we live and empower diversity, we create an innovation lab of relationships. I found this was very brilliant, what you've put out there. Because across the board, what we see in our research, and I'm just trying to get there very pragmatically into this, and in the practices of these purpose-driven multinationals, this is exactly the way how they work on empowering their organization, empowering a shift to beyond gender equality, more diversity, and to integrate this diverse mindset and the diverse heart set into leadership practices, into business models, and also to the relationship to understand what kind of solutions and innovations are actually necessary in the markets so that we can transition to a better economy and that business can still sustain the license to operate, being the biggest actor in the world right now. That is the most trusted one by the Edelman Trust Barometer, and the one where society really looks up to fulfill all the global commitments that they've shared over the last couple of years. And I'm sure that Sophia will speak about the investor's perspective in this context too. So what does, from the Leaders on Purpose perspective, a better economy? How does a better economy look like? We call it the Purpose First economy. We came out 2.5 years ago with a global leadership letter where over 20 multinational CEOs and executive directors of multilaterals came together to advocate for policy recommendations that can accelerate a global shift towards a more systemic view on how to create new and a better economy. Part of that is, of course, the significance of fostering a culture of innovation, fostering a culture of diversity, truly embracing in a most equitable way everyone. But what does this mean, and what does this mean applied? And here we have a couple of great examples, and also I think mindsets that are very, very significant to work through. First, what does equitable mean? Equitable doesn't necessarily mean that everyone wants the equal thing. It does mean that everyone should have the ability to start and do based on their interest and have all the same pathways to opportunities, so that a person can then decide in their own, and in his own manner how to embark upon the journey to drive purpose through their work and to the communities, to the organizations, to their family, into the world, and being recognized for that. And this, of course, will then lead, of course, to diverse outcomes and a diverse ability in the culture and the leadership design of organizations in a different, diverse way, how problems are being tackled in the organization, problems of today, but also at the same time, a very diverse mind and heart set around what a thriving future can actually look like. Because we know when we have a vision that goes beyond the problem, but is actually about creation and creating value and creating markets, creating solutions where we believe they can be adopted very fast. And then we are actually really creating a movement of the private sector to be able then to foster more and more change, long-term, midterm, and short-term. Characteristics that we are observing of our multinational purpose-driven leaders, and both women and men have this very similar characteristics. They all empower very deeply their teams. They're deeply empathic. They share deeply the things that they are learning. They share the vulnerabilities of the things they don't know, and they don't find really it's truly shifting from the hierarchical, control, dominant way of leadership to what we would call a more feminine approach. However, to the point of this conversation, it goes so much beyond gender equality. It goes also to the sensible, most human way to be acting in work with your teams and in your community on these projects, to truly come together, put the barriers down, and connect on a deeper level of purpose, on a deeper level of shared purpose, on why are you on this project, why are you doing the work that you're doing, why are you working on certain policy recommendations, and what do you believe you can truly unleash for the betterment of yourself and the betterment of society. For very, very concrete examples, for instance, is of course a lot of work that is being done in emerging markets where policymakers and multinationals are coming together to truly identify how to reach through all layers of society in a way down that all the value chains that we are working on today become ethical, and all the new value chains that we are building for frontier economies, such as the space industry, such as metaverse, such as all the other tech, AI for good, all these economies of which we know they will sustain and be fundamental to our future in the frontier. How can we enable today, from what we know, put the right guide rails into place so that these industries are being designed based on new fundamental axioms, and one of which is, of course, deeply grounded in diversity, in equitable opportunity to be actually able to create and be part of these economies. This means, for instance, in the space industry, one of the projects that we're working on, and I'm on the board of an organization called Space for Girls, how can we enable that in schools, through ministry programs and through new educational programs, in governments and in countries, it is truly way more embraced, and the railroads are passed down, that women go into STEM and learn the techniques, and can develop their talent truly unconditioned from traditional way of thinking of what the role of a woman should be in society, or in business, or in which industry a woman should go. However, this, of course, goes way beyond the female. It goes deeply into a way more diverse understanding of providing opportunity to everyone to participate, to build these frontier economies that will sustain, hopefully, life on our on Earth once we manage the global transition that we are in. And so there's a lot of effort being done here, and something that I truly embrace when it comes from this lens of diversity. It is the diversity of people, it is the diversity of mindset and the diversity of heart set that is coming together in the diversity of skill set. And so if we look at biomimicry, and when we look at nature, as you know, this is how nature has provided this beautiful system we currently live in on our planet, and that we look to sustain and obviously live in harmony with, to truly thrive towards a better future. So what can we learn? What can we learn from nature, in the way how nature right now comes together to solve problems and to find solutions and innovations, and apply it to the way how we all come together to solve these problems? And because at the end of the day, no matter if you're part of a multinational organization, no matter if you are a CEO, no matter if you are in the middle management, no matter if you are in politics, we are all humans that are connecting right now on the shared purpose that we want to see, that we can really truly drive to a better economy that can truly serves all. But this takes a lot of understanding of the things, and a balancing of recognizing we are right now in a global transition. So how do we deal with this global transition? How do we personally learn and evolve, whilst we learn and evolve in our communities, whilst we learn and evolve in our organizations, etc., all the touch points that we have, and at the same time apply to our best knowledge and to best consensus in our society the groundwork to the future economies that we're building. Other examples that go a little bit more into the nitty-gritty, how do we see leaders in a multinational organization dealing with these issues? And so it is truly a culture of very, very open transparency, and fostering that issues can be brought up, are being resolved and being addressed to, so that no one feels left behind in the organization, going maybe through some issues that are related to gender, or to other ways of conditioning, and not being able to show up in the fullest self. To have a culture in the organization that actually embraces conversation, embraces discussion, speaks about also the hard topics, so that everyone can learn instead of shaming. It is a learning culture. It's a culture that learns, and also puts processes in place to learn and to be better the next time. So it's an evolution that we see, and what we see in purpose-driven multinational companies, that it is a very big part of the agenda. And the agenda here, Canay, such as a few have mentioned, is way beyond gender equality. It is definitely a milestone that is significant. However, the whole mindset and the heart set behind this, and the purpose behind this, is that we find our way towards really a more diverse, not just a more diverse, towards a truly diverse ability to work together and to create together the economies that our planet and that society and humanity deserves. Am I still good on time?
Yeah, very good. Thank you so much, Tatiana. I really love how you touched this is about creativity, this is about biodiversity, it is beyond gender equality, and sharing with us about the research and how multinational companies and purpose-driven leaders are tackling this as a systems priority, not just one of a social impact project, and dealing this as a learning process, a learning and growing process where we can build these relationships and measure our progress as well. We received some beautiful questions for you while you are talking, but I want to check if Sophia is here. Yes, she's here, and let's do the Q&A after Sophia's conversation. Welcome, Sophie.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope you can hear me this time.
Yes. Hello. Welcome. Dear
Hi.
audience, I adore Sophia. She is an activist. She's a go-getter, but not just that. She also represents what women around the world are going through, from war zones to entrepreneurship to investment domain. And the way she does it so selflessly for decades now has been one of my inspirations, also building and designing the Heroines. Sophia, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. And
Thank you.
You have your co-founder with you.
Yes, I have one of our co-founders. I want to introduce you, if I go in the right direction. There she is. Her name is Whitney. And I'd love her to be a part of this call too, because she's fabulous. And this is something that we're going to be doing together along with another group of amazing women. Of course, we can't all squeeze into this tiny screen, but she's next gen. And my whole life is about empowering talented, ambitious young women. And Whitney is going to be a part of our team and very important to all of this. So it's my great pleasure to introduce you to Whitney as well.
Nice to meet everyone on the call. I can do a quick summary on my. Yeah.
Please do.
So, yeah. So I'll be helping Sophia launch the JEDI VC fund, focused on women founders for the Islamic world, investing in startups in this geographic space. My background is in management consulting, so I'm ex-Oliver Wyman, and I've lived right now I live in Dubai, but I'm originally from Canada, so I've kind of worked across the span of North America, Europe, Africa, and the Middle East, which is where I'm now.
And you've been a private equity associate as well.
And I've also worked in the private equity space in Canada before I was in consulting.
What a beautiful, hopeful expansion of your mission, Sophia. Very nice to meet you. I think the inclusion of younger generations to lead the path, also to bring that creativity, that inspiration, and celebrating what is supposed to be instead of always measuring with regressive points is very important. And thank you for representing that. I have some questions for you both, if you would like to answer. So first of all, you are doing on so many levels the championing gender equality. My question is, from prevention of crisis to intervention or to emergency situations and even armed conflict, and also taking consideration of how we can create systems for regenerations when women are affected, communities are affected, economies are affected. Where do you see the most important priority that we should be focusing our attention and our collective power to tackle gender equality and go beyond it, especially with given the fact that we are always falling behind?
Okay, so can you hear me clearly? Is it a good connection?
Yes, we do.
So I think that I think what we've seen since the break of the Me Too movement is an extraordinary rise in female and feminine power globally. and an awareness and a shining of the light on the continuing disparity between, you know, the gap between talent and opportunity, specifically between the genders. And so at least the light is now being thrown on this, whether it's access to the corridors of power if you're an aspiring politician, or wanting to join a board of a major company, or even, you know, if you have a startup and you're trying to get it funded. So we've seen how in the last couple of years, how the total amount of venture capital funding globally has dropped from, I think it's 2.9% down to 1.9%. And in the region here, it's actually 1.3%, even worse. So as far as I'm concerned, as somebody who's been a practitioner of philanthropy, of the sort of NGO approach to transformation, and also almost like an activist investor, I passionately believe that if the world is to be, you know, made sustainable for humanity and other forms of sentient beings on the planet, we need to tap into the private sector and the technological transformations that are being driven by AI and quantum and you know, basically, we can't afford to allow all of this to be designed and delivered by men. We love men, we love them. But at the moment, the voice of AI and you know, technology is, to a large extent, is being designed by white boys, you know, between the age of 18 and 28, based in Austin, Texas, or Silicon Valley. So I think we need more women in STEM subjects. We need to see more women coming through and starting up tech businesses and tech-enabled businesses. And the voice of the feminine, the female, needs to be in AI. And for me, what that means is that probably the most powerful thing we can do is to invest capital, because female founders globally have never been short of mentors. We've always had men sort of encouraging us from the sidelines and so on. But where it matters is getting funding. You know, you can't grow a business on coaching and mentoring. You need capital. So I would say, for me, the most transformational thing that we could have is access to more capital, and access to a global network, such as the kind of networks that Tatiana and yourself are building and that we have here at Jedi. Because, you know, capital is vitally important, but so is the Old Boys Network, which has powered great success for men over the generations. We need the Girls Network too, to support the growth of female-led businesses. Does that answer your question?
This is wonderful. Thank you, Sophia. And while we are on it, I want to ask you, we need capital. Also, we need more women making these decisions. And you are, I love that you are an activist also in these fields. In your work, what type of investors you are inviting to your to your pool? And is there any way that you are also guiding these investors to be more conscious, to be more informed about these topics?
Yes, absolutely. So because we now have a focus on the Middle East, we are speaking to local sovereign wealth funds. We're speaking to the development finance institutions, such as the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development, such as the International Finance Corporation, the European Investment Fund, British International Investment, and so on and so forth. So I've been advocating for a gender lens in these great behemoths now for some time. And until now, they don't have a gender lens, believe it or not. Even though it's one of the things that could most affect sustainable change, these great institutions, for the most part, don't have a very strong gender lens. I think that IFC is changing that. They've just announced a fund which they're planning to, I think, $200 or $300 million, planning to invest in early stage female businesses, and I think it's in the Middle East or South Asia, which is great. But I believe, of course, that they should be channeling some of that funding via female venture capitalists, because part of the problem is systemic. I think less than 10% of decision makers at venture capital funds globally are women, and only 2.4% are founding managing partners. And those people generally have a disproportionate say in where the funds are deployed. And female investors are twice as likely to invest in other women. So I would say that one of the most powerful things you could do is actually deploy capital through capable, experienced female fund managers and female investors, because I think you're going to get more bang for your buck, so to speak. And so I have been advocating for that for some time. But you know, these governments, they move at the pace of the Titanic. So slowly.
Thank you so much, dear Sophia. This is very beautiful, very interesting. I'm also Turkish. I had companies in the Middle East region, so I know how essential what you are doing there. We have some questions for you. Katie Brooks is asking, are they solely investing in Middle East or elsewhere? And if you are only investing in Middle East, is this encouraging or creating other investors in other areas?
Great question. So we are investing in Middle East, North Africa, but also in Pakistan, India, and Turkey. So we're focusing on that region just because we think there's a lot of talent and even less capital there. So we think the opportunity is greater. I think in some of the North American and European markets, there are just a lot more programs available, and I think this is a starting point. Not to say that we will not get there in the future.
And I'd like to add to that one of the ways that we're doing things perhaps a little bit differently is because we're women. We believe in collaboration. We believe in partnerships for the goals. One of our drivers is to support companies to deliver on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, including supporting them to reach net zero. And we also want to be solving a problem, which, as I say, is the access to capital factor. And we've been told by local accelerators that the stage at which there seems to be an enormous amount of need is the pre-seed stage, which is a little earlier than we had originally envisaged going in. I mean, we originally were thinking seed to Series A, but because we've identified this need from local accelerators, we plan to partner with some of these organizations that will then feed us the best of their female-led businesses from Turkey to Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt, and the GCC, and Pakistan, and so on. And that'll help us with pipeline. It'll help us with deal flow. But it also means that these earlier stage accelerators will have a solid place to go to, in the knowledge that hopefully they'll be able to get some funding from us. This is, of course, it's subject to us successfully raising the fund and getting to a first close. And raising your first fund is the hardest thing I've ever tried to do, and hopefully we'll succeed quite soon.
Inshallah, you have our full support. I have so many ideas and suggestions also to, inshallah, support your way so that we can support us as humanity. One thing that I would like to bring to this conversation, because you also mentioned Turkey, and you have been working with women from Afghanistan, helping them to flee during the armed conflict. But what struck me in your approach, Sophia, was that you had this long-term vision about how we can not only flee them out of the country, but protect them and guide them and empower them in ways that they can go back on their 2 feet, have their jobs, have their life going on with their own strength, with the support of each other. And as you know, almost a month ago, mega earthquakes happened in my country, and now there are millions of women who lost their jobs and who are very, very vulnerable at the moment. From your experience about after such huge disasters, man-made or natural-made, doesn't matter, what are the ways to really encourage and embrace each other to bring that power of humanity together with the economies and to help women to continue living their life with dignity?
So I would answer a two-pronged approach, and this is something that we've harnessed in our efforts to support high-profile, highly at-risk Afghan women who we've pulled out of Afghanistan and have been protecting in a safe house in Islamabad now for more than 18 months. So what we find is that anyone who goes through these traumatic experiences suffers from PTSD, and this can result in highly dysfunctional behavior, sometimes abusive behavior, and it can come out in all kinds of ways, and it really does need to be addressed. Now, what we've learned is that if you're a trauma counsellor, you don't address it right away. You have to allow the cortisol levels to somehow settle, and the intervention is far more effective, a few weeks after the traumatic experience has taken place. So in our guest house, we've been supplying therapy. We've had one-on-one therapy counselling. We've had Afghan women therapists providing group counselling and mental health training and so on. We've also got meditation and yoga, because I have a spiritual practice myself. I'm actually a qualified meditation teacher, although I haven't used it in any sort of big way myself, but I do understand the value of having a meditation practice and a yoga practice. So we've bought yoga mats for all our Afghan refugees, and they're on the roof a few times a week doing their downward facing dogs and breathing. It's amazing. It's really transformational for them. And so I would say mental health is one area where I think people overlook this. And obviously in traumatic times of emergency, the first thing is to get people under some kind of tent coverage, to get them warm, to make sure disease isn't breaking out, and then to make sure that they're safe. Because in these situations, women become very vulnerable, especially if they're in refugee camps or tented cities. They become very, very vulnerable to violent abuse. So once you've covered all the bases, then I think mental health, and I think what's extraordinary about the digital evolution that we're going through, the fact that we're able to talk to you today from the basement of the Dubai Opera, it's part of that wonderful transformation. But it also means that things like counseling, mentoring, mental health coaching can take place online. So provided these women have functioning smartphones and access to the internet, it's amazing how much benefit they can receive. And so, also some of the companies that we're looking at that we're profiling for investment are mental health apps. There's a company in Abu Dhabi called Mindtails, which is the first company that is seeking to provide trauma counseling and mental health counseling online in Arabic to the Muslim world. And they're going to be rolling out in refugee camps in Syria and Jordan before too long. So that's particularly interesting to me, because it has an opportunity. It'll certainly be revenue generating, but it'll be a game changer in terms of not only delivering trauma counseling, but also making the mental health debate somehow socially and so somehow acceptable. Because, of course, mental health has been a problem globally, especially in the wake of COVID and our addictions to these cell phones, right? So this is it's a global problem. And I think that, in Ibiza, where you live, of course, everyone is very much in touch with themselves. But in places like Saudi Arabia and the Emirates, you don't admit to having a mental health problem. So this can come out sideways again in violent abuse or alcoholism or worse. And so I think it's fantastic that these tools are available, and they are also available in theory to people who are survivors of earthquakes and other natural disasters. And then on the back of that, I would add access to online education. So we've been speaking to edtech companies, and we've been trying to design an intervention to solve the problem of access to education for girls over the age of 12 in Afghanistan. That's something that we're looking at doing through our nonprofit Future Brilliance, but also through our Jedi Fund. It's the kind of company that we might be interested in investing in, edtech solutions, AI supported personalized learning. I think education is going to go through a completely radical transformation, and it'll be far more accessible to people who can afford a smartphone and have high-speed internet access. And the same applies for the millions, as you say, of people, children who've been displaced or injured in the earthquake and won't have access to school or jobs or education. There may be the opportunity to receive education at all levels online, and then employment in the gig economy, which after all is going to be the only employment in another 20 years. So the faster we can support these, I was going to use the word victims, but I can't think of any better word,
survivors.
the faster we can support their transformation and upskilling to the digital economy through education and digital skills training, the more stable and secure they will be.
Thank you so much, Sophia. These are amazing, beautiful insights in such a condensed way. It might sound to some people, yeah, this is Saudi Arabia, this is Turkey, but according to World Bank, by 2050, more than 200 million people will be migrating within their own countries and pushing up to 130 million people into poverty. So these are very important prototypes. These are very important leading edge innovations that we all need to encourage and embrace, because this is us, this is humanity, this is the life of planet. Thank you so much to both of you. We wish you all the luck. Please send us links so we can distribute and circulate, and we are definitely going to be in touch. Much love. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
So, dear ones, we also have some amazing questions for Tatiana. But what we are going to do, Tatiana, with your permission, I would like to address these questions and follow up on our social media with your beautiful links and maybe more data about the research that you beautifully brought to here, because people are excited about the data, more data in that research, as well as how we can expand some of the things you have shared with us here. And thank you so much for joining, and let's continue the conversation. This is just the initiation. Thank you for participating. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Bye-bye. And last but not the least, we have our amazing, we call him marvelous Marv Radio, who is with us today. Congratulations, Marv, for your new soundtrack, and we are looking forward to hearing from you. Stage is yours. Thank you for participating.
Thank you, and it's an honor to be here on International Women's Day. I've learned most of my things that I've learned in life are from the feminine principle, either from my mother, my lovers, my teachers, and also from the feminine principle. So today I'm going to lead a short meditation using a vocal track that I've been preparing in the background, all from my voice, to help us to find the gender harmony, because as we are speaking of gender harmony and gender equality, we really look for the balance between the two. And there can also be a spike in making amends for what has been the past dominance of the male. We can also make a spike in the other direction. So this is about finding that balance and making sure that we can all live within our true balance and purpose, and that everyone is empowered. So I invite you, if you haven't already, to put some headphones on so you can get the full benefit of this stereo soundtrack, and take some deep breaths as we visualize our gender harmony. And as we take these conscious and aware breaths, begin to tune into your sensation in the left side of your body. Feel what is flowing through the feminine, the receptive. On the left side, filling the entire left side with golden light, of empowerment, of creativity, freedom, flow, intuition, and wisdom. And as that energy fills the entire left side, the feminine side of the body, it now begins to build a bridge to the right side, sending this golden light into the entire right side of the body, celebrating structure, forward momentum, movement, guidance, protection. And ask yourself, as this golden light fills your entire body, what does it look like for feminine and masculine energies to serve each other in balance and harmony? And as you tune into this golden light, focus on one thing, one memory, may even be this moment that you're truly grateful for. And as you tune into this gratitude, you start to witness on a great cinema screen in front of you a movie playing of this planet in the new Earth reality, receiving inspiration from the feminine principle, female leadership and empowerment alongside male leadership and empowerment in balance, in complete service to both sides. And focus on the next generation, the children being born today, the young adults that are now coming into their power. As you see this screen showing you the world that they can experience through honoring the feminine principle, through balanced gender leadership and partnership, through harmony. And as we see on this screen, this new earth forming, how will it change the structure of the world? How will the buildings change? How will nature be represented in our world? How will ingenuity take shape? As you now transport yourself inside of this screen to walk around, what does it feel like within your body to live in a world of true equality? A world where quiet, subtle intuition is valued just as much as a loud voice or a powerful mind. Where businesses can be led from the heart, where the principle of nurturing is at the center of true success, where the people who work for the company, who own the company, and who are the customers or recipients are fully held within a space where their well-being is at the center and above profitability, but not in conflict of profit, where health and happiness brings harmony to all. And as we begin to tune in to this reality, accepting it as a reality and not a dream, we can start to think of some of the steps that we can begin to take. Maybe something you've heard in this call, maybe something you've thought or something you've never experienced before, to really embody this harmony and balance. And as you allow that to fill your body with this joy, with this regenerative energy, and just take a moment to send this energy that we feel, this empowerment, this love, this joy and light, to the women in our lives that inspire us, that hold us, that show us that there is a different way to do things. And sending that energy now to maybe those women who need support in this time. We're calling for our support, guidance, for nurturing, for help. to the entire female population of the planet, so that they may live within their true power, and extending that light to all the men, in particular the men who need to be healed, so they can show up in service, in truth, and in balance, to the men that inspire us, and to the men that are the most hurt of all, who are causing more damage because they are hurt, praying for their full recovery so that they can be complete beings in harmony with their left and their right, their feminine and their masculine. And bringing yourself fully back to your body, feeling that power, that spark from this living earth, united and balanced in gender harmony, as you take the will to take that first step to reach out to that person or start that project or share and spread the word about something that will bring that change. As you bring yourself fully back into your body, red roots connecting us to this living, breathing Mother Earth, this womb that holds us. Take your last few breaths here, allowing some movement in the body to bring back your sensations. And now, allowing everything to be relaxed behind the eyes, the jaw, the shoulders, the tongue dropping to the bottom of the mouth. And meditate today upon how coming from a place of pure relaxation can have just as much impact, or even more, than coming from a place of tension and forcefulness, or having to make something happen. How can you surrender to the wonder that lives within you and within this earth? Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Marv. This was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marv. Beautiful as always. So I'm going to close and just inform you also that many of the people here present will also be present at our next Heart Masters event, where actually we bring men and women together, and work around, gender harmony. So we do basically 3.5 days. We work separately. Yeah, the men do their work, women do their work, and then we come together and we co-create in a regenerative way. And we invite, many beautiful guests, also Mastrin, who is our wisdom teacher from Turkey. We have Daniel Christian Wall there, people like Daniel Pinchback. We have the co-founders of Haifa there, and many other people, including Marv Radio, as doing opening and closing meditations and beautiful voice activations. So for anyone who's interested, it's in Ibiza from May 27th till the 31st, with 2 optional days also to go more into regenerative thinking and ceremonial spaces. So that's what we do. All the info is on RegenerateX.co.
And thank you, Semin Jim, for coming and bringing your heart-led leadership and compassion to our container. Semin is going to be also with us in Ibiza in the Heart Masters, guiding us through heart-led leadership and compassionate inquiry and yoga practices that she guides us to integrate and align our energy channels. Thank you so much for coming, Semin. Thank you.
And thank you, Pelin, for the whole production in the background.
Yes,
There
thank
she
you
is.
so much. Thank you. I want to also announce one very important thing, that is with the Heroines. Now we are inviting with a special scholarship all the survivors of armed conflict, disasters, earthquakes around the world, but mainly the countries Turkey, Iran, Afghanistan, Syria, and Ukraine. Women, if you have the chance, if you want to be a part of a container designing inclusive solutions, starting with taking care of yourself and designing conscious businesses, projects to serve to communities like yourself, to women like yourself, you are invited. During the month of March, we are receiving applications in the heroines.co. You can also reach out to me and through our social media channels. We want to give special scholarships so that we can design and co-create solutions that are regenerative. Thank you so much for listening to us. I think one clear thing is that next time we should do it 1.5 hours. Thank you so much. Happy International Women's Day. Bye-bye.